Now let's try to understand the various ways in which applications of artificial intelligence can be observed. So here we have listed out various sectors where artificial intelligence can be used, and let's try to analyze each and every one of them, that how exactly they can be used. So first of all, you have the energy sector. Now in the energy sector, they can be used to make power grids, smart power grids, you can say. They can be used to make smart power grids. They can be used to ensure that the unpredictability that exists in the power, that does not exist, that can be taken care of. Not only that, to maintain photovoltaics, to make better photovoltaics, artificial intelligence can be used there. So overall, you can say, to make sure that the efficiency of the energy sector increases, we are able to utilize energy sources in a much better manner. For all these purposes, artificial intelligence can be utilized. Then after that, you have the manufacturing sector. Now, manufacturing sector perhaps could be the biggest or one of the biggest beneficiaries of artificial intelligence. Whether you talk about production, you talk about logistics, you talk about assembly lines, all these areas in the manufacturing sector, we can see artificial intelligence or the use of artificial intelligence. So that's why we can say that manufacturing sector can perhaps be one of the biggest gainers in the field of artificial or with the help of artificial intelligence. So apart from that, we discussed this in robotics also, that in artificial intelligence can be utilized in robotics to make better robots, robots that can behave according to the environment. They can act better in the given situation that they are in. They can understand the patterns faster and they can work accordingly. Then after that, in case of cyber security also, artificial intelligence can be utilized in a much better manner. We can maintain a high level of security with the help of artificial intelligence. We might understand how exactly the systems might be infected in various ways, and we can start acting accordingly. We can make better systems, more sturdy systems, resilient systems with the help of artificial intelligence. Then smart cities and infrastructure. So when we talk about smart cities, it's not only about infrastructure but also traffic management, management of drainage system, management of the entire architecture of a given city. Correct? So from the perspective of each and every one of these areas, smart city, the development of smart city, artificial intelligence can be a big boon to make sure that we have smart infrastructure, we have better traffic management system, we have better garbage management systems, better drainage management systems. In all these cases, we can see that artificial intelligence can be used in a much better manner. Then after that, in healthcare. Now, healthcare, agriculture and education sector, these are the three most important sectors, I would say, with respect to artificial intelligence. So first, if we talk about the healthcare sector, in case of healthcare sector, there are multiple things that can be done using artificial intelligence. Early detection of diseases, they can be used in diagnostics, they can be used for research and development, they can be used for training purposes, they can be even used for understanding the onset of pandemics. All these kind of things, all these behavioral patterns can be understood with the help of artificial intelligence. Even vaccine development, we have seen that vaccines this time, if you compare the COVID vaccines as compared to the vaccines that we have seen in the past, it has taken the least amount of time. Within a year's time, within 9 to 10 months of time, we were ready with vaccines. And this is something that the world has never seen. Within 1 year, there hasn't been any vaccine that has been ever developed by the world. Some of the vaccines, for example, if you talk about the last pandemic of the Spanish flu, it took us at least 20 years to come forward with a vaccine. 20 years. Similarly, if you talk about the leprosy vaccine that was developed in India finally, it took more than 25-30 years for the vaccine to develop. Similarly, if you talk about other vaccines also, they have taken a long amount of time. But compared to that, if you look at COVID vaccines came within a year. One of the key areas that helped COVID vaccines to come so early was artificial intelligence. Understanding the behavior of the virus, understanding how the vaccines are going to work, understanding the various results that were taken while the clinical trials were happening. For all these, artificial intelligence was used. And this is something that decreased the time a lot, by a huge margin. And that's why we are in a situation today that the vaccines have started all across the world. So that's why In healthcare sector, artificial intelligence can be a big boon. Now talking about the agriculture sector. In case of agriculture also there are huge possibilities that can be tapped with the help of artificial intelligence. So for example, you can talk about soil health management, understanding soil, understanding the behavior of soil, understanding what kind of crops are suited for what kind of soil. All these data can be collected, and the analysis of data from world across can help us understand the soil health and manage health accordingly. Then after that, after soil health, one thing that becomes important is crop health. Again, in a very similar manner, understanding the different kinds of crops, understanding the data with respect to different kinds of crops, what kind of crops are giving good results, what kind of crops are giving better yields. All these kind of data can be collected from a very wide variety of sources, and accordingly we can understand a pattern, understand what kind of crops are suited for what kind of areas, and accordingly we can work so that any kind of food shortages that we are looking today can be managed in a much better manner in the coming future. Because if you look at the future, the amount of food requirements that we have today will definitely be increased by a lot in the next coming few decades. So we need to be prepared for that. Similarly, if you look at the farm management today, if you compare India to countries like China or USA, you will see that the amount of crop yield per hectare of India is very low as compared to China or USA. The amount of water that we are using per kg of crop is also very high as compared to China and USA. So in a manner you can say that there is an inefficiency in the system today. So all these inefficiencies also can be managed with the help of artificial intelligence. Then apart from that, crop mechanization, so that we understand the yields of the crops, we understand how to grow crops, when to grow crops, understanding which kind of weeds are present in different kinds of fields, the management of them, destruction of these weeds. All these kind of things can also be done with the help of artificial intelligence. Then apart from that, one more thing that becomes very important is something which is data driven. I can write it down as agricultural data. Now today what happens, that the crops will be grown by the farmers, they will be taken to the market, they will be sold in the market. Sometimes there is not much of a demand of that crop, so farmers would not be paid much for that. Sometimes there is a high demand, so maybe they are paid. Sometimes what may happen is that there was a high demand for a certain crop, but the farmers don't know about that. So they don't know that if they grew a certain crop, they perhaps would have better margins in profit, and they might be able to earn more from that crop. So they are not driven by this kind of a data today. So they are growing certain types of crops, and these crops are being sold in the market. Sometimes there is a demand for that crop, sometimes there is no demand for a crop. And if there is no demand for the crop, then in that case many a times they actually are at losses because of that. So artificial intelligence can help in this regard as well. If there is a predictive behavior that could be understood, that okay, market is going to need these kind of a crop, the market is going to need these crops, these fruits, these vegetables in coming 3-4 months, in coming 6 months, then if this data is available with the farmers can also grow the crops accordingly. So it will also help the farmers in growing the crops which are actually required by the market, and in turn they will be able to earn better from these kind of crops. So this is something that will also help in increasing the income of the farmer that the governments have been looking forward to, right? So again, this is something which is very important for agricultural sector. Then after that we come to education sector. Now in education sector, again there are a lot of things that can be done. We can try to understand the behavior of the student, the learning pattern of the student. What is the time that the student gives to learning a certain subject? If these patterns are understood and this data can be provided to the student, then the student will also benefit from that. Let's say for example, you take your own example. Maybe you are good in polity, you are not good in economy, you are good in geography, you are not good in modern history. So what might happen is that perhaps you don't recognize that this is happening, that you are taking more time in learning polity, you are taking lesser time in learning geography. When you attempt a test of geography, you are able to give correct answers more than what you were able to do with polity. So all these kind of behaviors, the patterns could be understood by an artificial intelligence system, and it can provide you that data so that you can understand where you belong, and you can understand where you are currently and where do you need to improve for your results to improve, for you to be able to become a better student, a better aspirant, and crack the examination, right? So one thing could be that patterns could be understood and students' behaviors could be understood. Then after that, smart tutorials can be provided, better tutorials can be provided, so that the tutorials are being provided after understanding what the student needs, how the student needs to be conveyed the message, so that they are able to comprehend the lectures in a much better manner. So all these can also be done with the help of artificial intelligence. Then after that, one more thing that can be done is, for example, the teacher posting systems can be also managed using artificial intelligence. Understanding the requirements of certain areas, the teachers could be posted in those areas, so that whatever be the demands of a certain area which are not being fulfilled can be managed with the help of artificial intelligence. So in this manner, you can see that there are plethora of things that can be done using artificial intelligence. In all the sectors, you have one way or the other in which the artificial intelligence systems can help. Even if you take, for example, legal sector. So we know that there are a lot of pending cases today in the courts. So maybe artificial intelligence can help in managing these cases in a much better manner, in a much more efficient manner, so that we have better redressal, faster redressal of all the pending cases. So that's why you take any sector that you see today, there is a possibility that artificial intelligence can help in that sector. We talked about manufacturing sector. We can talk about the retail sector as well. In the retail sector also, to manage the products better, to maintain the products better, to get better customer feedbacks, again artificial intelligence can be used. So that's why you have to understand that each and every sector, whatever sector you take or choose, you would have some application or the other of artificial intelligence. Now the question is, where is India with regards to artificial intelligence? There was a report that was published back in 2019 by Niti Aayog, and this report was basically talking about the roadmap of artificial intelligence in India. Now what this report was talking about are the various sectors where India can actually make the use of artificial intelligence. It also provided some data and insights with regards to how we would grow in the coming years with respect to artificial intelligence and robotics also to an extent. So what we have done for you is that we have also provided the summary of this particular report, and this is available in your student portal. So you can go to the student portal and access that report. After you are done with this particular chapter, it will provide you extra information with regards to this chapter. Alright. So if we start from the defense forces of India, we have seen that artificial intelligence is something that they have been working actively on, and there are areas where we already have seen that artificial intelligence is being used by the defense forces in India. Now then, if you talk about the industries, one of the things that we see in India, and probably I would say that this is one of the challenges also that India faces, that largely artificial intelligence in India is being driven by the private sector. The government agencies, the government companies, or the government of India in general hasn't really worked on artificial intelligence. The good step was the Niti Aayog report, because then it lays down the foundation for the artificial intelligence to work in a more systematic manner in India. So now what we have started to see is that there have been certain collaborations between the academics and the industries in India. So for example, the IBM's Blue project, this is where we have seen that academics and AI have started to work together. Now, according to the Niti Aayog report, it has also been estimated that AI will add approximately $957 billion to India's GDP by the year 2025. And this is something that will boost India's GDP by at least 1.3%. So this is huge. And that's why artificial intelligence in the coming 15-20 years, next couple of decades, is going to be a big thing for India. Now, apart from that, as per the reports, India today stands at the 9th position in terms of number of AI specialists working in the field. So, although number 9 seems as a good number, but if you look at the absolute numbers, you will see that the absolute numbers are pretty low as compared to the top 3 or 4 countries. In the academics, we have seen that CBSE, for example, has artificial intelligence as an elective subject in its ninth grade courses, and there are few colleges which have started engineering courses in artificial intelligence. For example, IIT Hyderabad. IIT Hyderabad now has launched a full-fledged Bachelor of Technology or BTech courses in engineering in artificial intelligence, and this is something that basically is a very good step forward in the field of artificial intelligence in India. So what are the potential ways, what are the potential areas where we can start using artificial intelligence in India? We can definitely make it a part of Digital India mission, and if we do that, it will also boost the know-how of artificial intelligence, the infrastructure development, the human resource development of artificial intelligence in India. Then it will help in targeted delivery of services, schemes and subsidies. Better understanding of the entire demography will help us plan everything better. Smart board surveillance and monitoring can come in. Weather forecasting will be a big thing that can take the help from artificial intelligence, and we discussed about this partially when we were discussing about various applications. Then it can help in road safety and crime data analysis, in disaster management. It can even help in counter-insurgency and patrolling operations. It will definitely help there as well. Then automating the government processes, study of ancient literature upon medicines, and also in governance. And this is something which is very important for you to understand, that in governance artificial intelligence can be a huge boost. And also for your mains examination, this is a big question. A simple question that can be asked is, how can artificial intelligence help in governance? Or how can governance in India benefit from artificial intelligence? This is a question that can come in your mains examination as well. So I would suggest as an exercise for you all that you write answer to this particular question, how can AI help in governance? So this is about all the possible areas for artificial intelligence applications for India. Now after this, we also need to understand what are the challenges that India faces today with regards to artificial intelligence, so that we should understand what is the way forward, what are the areas where we need to work as a country and develop artificial intelligence in a manner that we are able to use it in various sectors and make sure that it becomes a part of the growth story of the country. So let's come to the challenges. Now, at the end of this chapter, let's try to understand some of the challenges that India faces today with regards to artificial intelligence. So what are these challenges? First of all, today artificial intelligence is largely driven by the private sector. That we have not seen a lot of initiatives, although there is a Niti Aayog report that was published in 2019, that how exactly do we need to go in future when it comes to artificial intelligence. But as of now, we don't see much of a government intervention in artificial intelligence, and not a lot of development has been happening from that segment. So that is one of the biggest problems, because unless there is a huge backup that is provided by the government, it becomes very difficult for the country to move forward and prosper in the field of artificial intelligence. So this is one of the biggest challenges today, that it is largely driven by the private sector, and wherever it is required by some company, some sector, we have seen that they are employing artificial intelligence. But there needs to be a major policy shift so that artificial intelligence can be deeply ingrained in various sectors in India. Then after that, education system. The education system is not updated. We have not seen that many of the science or engineering courses are offering artificial intelligence. There are only a few examples, as we discussed, where we can see artificial intelligence today. But apart from that, you will see that in most of the segments, artificial intelligence is not being taught yet. So maybe as a chapter, maybe as a small segment in the course it is being taught, but there needs to be a lot more that needs to be done from academic perspective as well. Then the debate of poverty versus technology. How much do we spend on this technology? Is it worth spending so much on the technology when we say that we are a poor country? When we say that our per capita income is still low? When we still say that we are not able to feed our entire population properly? So is it worth it that we invest so much on technology while we are not able to invest so much on the other problems that I just discussed about. So this is again a debate that goes on, and this also becomes one of the hindrances to developing something, that we have to understand that whether it is going to be advantageous or disadvantageous is completely dependent on how we make the use of it. Are we looking at positive outcomes? Are we well planned? Are we looking to tap all the advantages in a manner that it is helpful for the entire country, entire economy? So this is something that we always have to keep pondering upon. Then the decrease in demand for human labor can happen. If artificial intelligence starts to replace human labor, that can create a big problem. It can lead to huge amount of job losses. So we have to be prepared for that. We have to be prepared in a manner that the existing population does not suffer in any manner whenever artificial intelligence starts to work properly in India. Then after that, existential risks, because everything is happening with the help of artificial intelligence. The social behaviors change a lot. There will be a lot of issues that will arise, not only in economy or with respect to job losses, etc., but also in the behavior pattern, also socially, also culturally. So all these aspects also have to be understood. And then it can lead to moral degradation in society, because everything is being driven by artificial intelligence, everything will be driven by data. And this is one of the things that people are afraid of, that if everything is driven by data, everything is driven by artificial intelligence, and everything is based on patterns and behaviors, will it lead to moral degradation in the society as well? Will people become more disconnected with one another? Will there be a social or cultural or moral degradation of society as a whole? So this is again something that we need to ponder upon, that how exactly do we make the use of artificial intelligence in a manner that it is just advantageous and all the disadvantages can be avoided. So with this we end this particular chapter. Just remember that all the applications sector wise become very important. The basics of artificial intelligence that we discussed can be important for your prelims examination, and some of the challenges that India is facing today and what is the future of artificial intelligence in India is something that can also be asked in your examination. So with this we end this chapter here. Thank you very much for joining.